Hello and welcome to another Lord of the Rings Rise to War video. I'm the player who plays as the King of the Mountain, and today it is day 3 of this brand new server. And we are going to go through the sort of normal stuff really, bit of a season update of where people are at with farm and things like that. As you can see, the first keep is going okay at the minute. We thought it was likely to fail because there was only about 4 mains there. So, we're going to go through that. We're going to look at the map, not that really a lot's gone on yet. I think we are going to be the second team to take a keep, providing we take this keep. So not a lot's happened so far. We'll go through the leaderboards. I'm also going to probably give out a couple of farming tips, I think. Because the game's kind of changed a little bit now. The rings changed. You get a lot more buffs earlier, so you can kind of progress a lot faster. I'm quite fortunate here because I've nearly completed all of my buffs, but you know, with these staying unlocked now, you can kind of get quite a lot further with your farm. So we're going to have a look at that. And like I say, we're just sieging this keep down. I don't think it's got a great deal left. 168,000. I have a siege rally going on here. And also have my own siege. I actually have siege on day 3. This is a novelty in itself. Don't know where my siege is, but it's in here somewhere. Where's my singlet? Siege, there we go. So I'm actually doing 618 per hit, which is pretty good for me at this stage of the season, to be honest. With level 5, so I've got some level 10s later, because I think we're trying to take another keep later on. So, let's start at the beginning, which of course is, at this stage of the season, the leaderboards. And you won't see much on the merit board, but you will see a lot on the personal affluence board. I find myself in the middle of the sock drawer, as I like to call it. Left sock of destiny, last sock of destiny, and the right sock of destiny. I'm in between at the moment in third. I finished the first 24 hours in second. I never got anywhere near. This is Raven, by the way. Never got anywhere near Raven. I think I was still 2k off. He was way out in front of everyone else, really. I will scroll down because there is more socks. It is our Russian players' theme for the season. We have the Lost Sock of Destiny. We have some gods in here. We have some panda in here. Moscow's in here. The Peaceful, may I add now. He is now just a yoga and very much a talker, very calm, very peaceful. Like I said, the top 50 sort of gets rounded out really by some dragons, some panda. Gods. We'll go through the teams in the server shortly, to be honest. Some home in here. It's not the home that I'm used to seeing. It's a different home. But it's going to be quite an interesting server, I think. And probably, in my opinion, the future of how all servers are likely to look, with 2 or 3 big teams and some smaller ones. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. But I think for a while the bigger teams are probably going to stay away from each other, I would assume. Oh, we have the huge stock of Destiny there as well. I like to do this on the first video, the first occupations, and 29 minutes and 39 seconds into the server, Raven had a level 8 tile. I didn't start on time. I started about 50 minutes into the server, so mine was 2 hours and 10-ish, something like that, when I got mine. But yeah, it looks like 3 hours on the server count. I never do well at the first occupations, really. I moved a little bit further up for the 9s. 35 minutes for a 9 tile from Raven. 10s, 46 minutes. I mean, it's not a bad effort, is it really? I mean, I know he's got a great account, but not a bad effort. Mine was 4 hours 24, and I was pretty happy with that. I'll go through my season start probably after I've gone through the leaderboards and things like that, and when I go through the farming tips. Appreciate my account here is pretty big now, so you know, some of the farming tips take with a pinch of salt. If you're more on the free to play end, you need to spend more time doing some of the things I'm saying before you jump in. 11 tiles after 2 hours and 31 minutes of a server is pretty crazy, and you can see how he's managed to get so much production. So I got mine 12 hours in. There wasn't actually many left around me at that stage, which was a bit crazy. I've had to start looking at things in a different way this season because my account's slightly bigger. I am playing the Netherese account, and I'm very appreciative of him for allowing me to do so, to be honest. It's a pretty big account, and it definitely added to what I could achieve as a player at the start of the season. Merit board at this point, as you can imagine, there isn't a great deal on there, but some players have got some. Pressy is currently top. As for the Fellowship Affluence board, can't get much closer than that, can you? So you have Panda at the top, who I believe are going to team with Dragon. You have Gods at 1.7 million as well in second. And at the moment, there is a bit of talk around whether Gods and Toby, obviously us in third, I'm still with Toby, are actually going to have a Kingdom partner this season. I think there's some natural Kingdom partners if there is to be that way, but it'll be interesting anyway. So I believe that's kind of what's being talked about at the moment. See if we can keep it a little bit more balanced. There are some smaller teams in here like Bash, Equi, and Wolf, and Etna, and Hope, who are in the region that we're in. I believe they're heading off towards the Iron Hills currently to try and take that, so that'd be quite cool. It isn't a massive server, I'll be honest, but I think we in particular needed a change of pace away from playing the same teams day in, day out. I know I've said a lot about that. I'm not convinced it's the way forward to just keep playing the same teams over and over and over again, mainly because everyone has a different opinion of what balanced is. It makes it very difficult to have a server in that regard. As always, after day 3 of a server, my voice is a little bit flat. I haven't slept as much as what I would normally do, so I always sound a little bit I think, on these kind of videos. No one's got any season points yet. And as for the commander rankings, we'll just have a look through the top 10 or so. Ravens are here, so he has... can we press on these still? Used to be able to. Yeah, there you go. So you've got Ravens Z9 Undying. You have his Z12 Shadow. You have his Z12 Scalhelm. I mean, his formation is ridiculous. So to come second to this, I am okay with that. And then a Z12 Gandalf the White. Now, what I will say is, Raven, you do need to sort this out, because I feel like if you're going to have maxed uniques, even I've got that one. Like, sort it out. Anyway, then you've got Beck with a couple, and then Silenef, who's joined Panda for the season. I don't know if Silenef is staying there. Obviously, Silenef created the horrible bomb squad formation that everyone really hates now, where I believe she uses kind of like 700-800 troop supply and does 3-4k damage to an army because of the way she sets up with Scalhelm. Horrible, horrible, horrible way of doing things with Woses. We've got Zarazar in those next few places, and then you come into me, who I've got 3 there, and then I think I've got 1 that's nearly level 40, so we'll probably look at that. This keeps still alive. I mean, it's about to be taken, but still alive. Not a bad effort for day 3 though. So from a commander levels point of view, my Z11 Shadow has been doing a lot of work for me. So he is already at level 40. Bjorn is at level 40. We have Undying at level 40, and this is the first season I've actually been able to use Undying for PvE, and I've got to admit, it's like a cheat code. If ever there was one commander for PvE, I mean, wow, the results you can get, providing, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later on in the tips, providing you can actually get him to heal is one thing. And then Z1 Saruman, who's also at 39, nearly at 40, he'll get there today. And then these guys will pick up probably to 40 in the next, I don't know, day or so, I would guess, depending on how much I sweep. Then we started off with these guys as well, and they've kind of not been leveled up today, I'll be honest, I've been lazy. There hasn't really been tiles for them to get either, so yeah, we're just starting to not do things as well. I've just realised that I haven't actually completed the sets on Saruman, which is a bit annoying. I'll probably change that over at some stage, but I don't know what to. I'll figure that out in my head. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I need to actually do something with that at some stage, otherwise it's going to annoy me. Generally, he would wear this, but Undying's got it on at the moment, so, and Gale's out on the field, so I can't really do much about that. Just gotta leave it be for now. Clearly, don't need that extra little bit of evasive action. So that's kind of the commander levels. Like I say, we are sweeping. We'll just have a look who did the most siege and things like that while we're here. That's definitely the wrong button. Look at that. Big Crunchy, 2.6 million. Cletus, 1.7 million. Athanasios, 1 million. And then I can't believe I'm not in the siege rankings. Well, I can, because I'm not really there for the siege. But I got through 8. So let's have a look where I was in the whole people are leaving the Legion that I've made. 10k. I did 5.5k. I mean, I'm okay with that for the first keep. There is also a world boss later on, which I'm looking forward to trying to get rid of. So, I guess next is going into the small tips that I'm going to give in this video. Now, this isn't a farming guide. It's just a few season start tips. I probably do at some stage plan to do a genuine season start video. Moscow the Peaceful, thanks. So let's get out of here. Let's go to there. So here we go. Now, first tip, and it's probably starting a little bit backwards, but it's a tip that keeps coming up, and I do agree it needs doing. Level your siege. Now, these guys are now level 10, but this was sort of earlier on. Hit level 6 mobs until you get close to level 10, and then you can throw a few more horses on or whatever else you want. You won't lose many troops, and you can hit level 10 mobs, and you will get to level 10 very quick. The reason why you want to get to level 10 is because then you can have 2 pieces of siege equipment making the set, and then you get an extra 5% on your siege. Okay, so that's your first thing to do. Always level your siege in the background. Everyone needs to siege. Everyone needs some help. My next tip's a little bit more niche, and it involves Undying. Now, I don't know how many people use Undying and don't necessarily read the reports, because if you looked at this at face value against the level 40 mob, you would probably be okay with that supply loss. Or at least I would be, personally. However, Undying's skill, which is the whole reason why he's great for PvE, to be honest. Obviously, he has the evade, great, fantastic. Makes him great for PvE. Also makes him pretty good for PvP, but definitely PvE. And then he has the heal in round 5, which is a big heal. Okay, it does make a massive difference, and we'll be able to show you that in the battle report. But it's round 5. The key here is round 5. So what I found was at one stage I was running 3 damage dealers, and I was still getting pretty good results. I was still getting 200 supply losses, 300 supply losses. But when I actually started looking at the reports were ending in round 4. So I've completely missed the heal. So I've almost got to delay the damage to make sure I get to round 5, which is why I started running Gandalf in this formation as well, rather than having 3 damage dealers, because I wasn't making the most of that heal and that skill, and it's a really, really important lesson to learn. And look at the difference when you heal and into round 5. So it's the same mob. Everything else is the same. I'll just go back and show again. Look, see, exactly the same mob. 3028 for 3429. And in this round 5, because this lasted, I think, to round 6. So I actually took Bjorn out of this formation in the end. So I made sure I got to round 4, 5, and 6, basically. And then I get the heal. So if you look, we go from round 4 to round 5, and we get that little bit of healing in there in this case because we've already done enough damage. But the difference is massive in the reports where you get the heal, and I'll probably show you that in I'll show you that in a couple more reports in a minute. I'll just go through these to go through another pretty important, I think, tip for season start in particular. Level 10 tiles in particular are where people start getting stuck. Now, this is my B team. I appreciate the B team has great gear. Okay, it's got good levels, good gear. So I'm not saying go around and you'll get results like this all the time. But what I will say is maximize the armies that you're hitting and maximize the troop counter buff that you can. So in my case, I actually look for large units more than I do mediums and smalls, just because of what I run. So in here, we've got some evasion on these 2 guys, and as well with them being ranged, they take less normal attacks. We've got some evade in Gil, and that's why Gil's running here with the 3 elves. Gandalf's got a heal. again there, and he's also got White Council, so we're protecting very well against whatever damage is coming at us. What I will say is look for formations like these, because even though they've got a damage weapon, there is not a lot of damage coming at you apart from Gimli, right? Then the other thing is look for skills which don't make sense. So Denethor, for example, is really bad for this on tiles. Medium units get a heal, okay? On these are large. Generally, on Denethor, you'll see large or smalls. It's really silly how that works. So it's just worth doing that, and you'll get through it. For example, here, elf in the command of the army is going to evade. There is no elves. So, again, elf skills. You're looking for things whereby the commander skills don't line up, and for not a lot of damage. So in here, again, he's getting some evasion, great. And again, they're getting a little bit from their skill, but there's no pure damage from Isildur. And he's not making enough for troop buff damage for the trolls to do enough damage to you either. So you need to look for those kind of formations. And I pulled a few examples out. We've got here Thorin. Again, a little bit of damage from Thorin. This is probably one of the worst ones that I could probably show you to hit, because there'll be a lot of damage in this tile. And even though it's siege, they've got a damage weapon and accessory. So if I was a low spender, I wouldn't hit this unless I had cavalry. If I was around the same level. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I'm level 35 at my size account, of course I'm going to hit this because I'll beat the tile. But with the skills that people have here and what they've got, there is a lot of damage coming back at you. So it's just a case of look into the perspective skill, make sure you're hitting the right type of tiles, and try to look for ones that haven't got a great deal of damage coming back at you. Now, I'm just going to show you again, this is a great tile to hit, okay? So I'll look into here, they have got a damage weapon and accessory. Radagast, to be honest, may as well not bother having a damage skill, and hardly does anything. Great heal if you're using him yourself, but on a tile, not great. So again, great commander to hit. Arwen, again, great commander to hit. Hardly any damage comes from these skills. This guy can do a little bit of damage, but again, when you're considering that you've got to take on something, and in this tile, this is pretty much as good as it gets. And bear in mind, again, there's another skill there for mounted, which it hasn't got. So these kind of formations are what you want to be hitting, but it's a case of understanding the commander skills that you're about to hit and trying to make sure you sort of limit those losses. I'm just going to go on to here and show, it says bad tile, and it is a bad tile. So good army to hit, even though it's against the counter, mainly because there's not a fantastic amount of damage coming back at me. Now, if we look into here, I've gone to round 7, okay? So we're at 3, 4, 1, 3. When we come back into round 5, we're at 3, 6, 8, 1. So the recovery percentage from Undying's heal is very good, and very, very good in fights like this, because then you just finish the tile off without doing too much. You have to make sure you get to that round 5. And this was probably a bit silly of me. This is when I was still running 3DDs, and this is when I actually realised I'm causing my own problems here. Because if I was fighting small units, which, by the way, I'm still gutted they never put these into the main game. But anyway, things like this is going to hurt me. Saruman always hurts on tiles. Skalhelm always hurts on tiles. And to be honest, so does Khamul. And I was using Khamul in some of my formations early season. So again, damage skills, including Nazgul, so it's really early damage. Again, no Nazgul, thankfully, on Skalhelm, otherwise I may have had more trouble with this tower. But my problem here is, 1, they do a lot of damage. Even LOTR, to be honest, is doing some damage to me here. 2, I've got no counter buff, so again, that's a problem. And 3, I only lasted to round 4. So I didn't do any favours for myself in that tile by taking that one on, but I took a guess because the first army was so good to take, and because tiles were so slim at this stage, I took it on. And obviously you have to make sure you're doing that in regards to your level as well. Of course, the old 1 troop and low troop farming still happens. Again, try to make sure you're either equal to or hitting a count. You're hitting into the counter. Like, really, I should be hitting smalls here. Again, early season, I tend to train a lot of infantry units, and then I will try and find trolls and just try and kill them that way. But this kind of setup works. And again, look at your tile armies and see what they is. This probably isn't the best tile army for me to hit, to be perfectly honest. However, we hit it and we took it, and we just lost about 150 supply, which I'm absolutely okay with at that stage of the season. Then we're going to go through the first things to do in season start. Now, what I will caveat this with is make sure you take the tiles required to unlock the higher level mobs. Okay, so for example, a level 11 tile unlocks level 40 mobs. You need that by, to level your commanders up to a point whereby you need to get to level 40. My recommendation to everyone now, with the way the ring system works and the way the game's changed, is that your A and B team 100% sweep mobs until they get to a level that's probably, if you are free to play, around about level 20. But your C and D teams, and this is where you have to understand your commanders, you have to find your damage commanders, whoever that might be, still need to take tiles, because you need to get 4 tiles, you need to get 6 tiles, you need to get 7 tiles. And it's really important to do that, because if you don't unlock the higher level mobs, and then you end up walking miles to the mobs. So what I found was I could hit 10 mobs, like so. So this is a level 10 mob to start the season. I also wait until I've got 3 commanders before I do anything hitting tiles wise, just because then you get less losses. Then we've got 12 mobs, and again, there's no evasion in this formation here, but you go straight from a 10 to a 12. Far better with early damage and evasion, can I just say. Just trying to show you the examples there of how that looks. I did start with elves, and again, then you progress onto 15s and you go onto 20s and then 25s. Your losses should be quite slim, and they'll be less than tiles, because in theory, generally mobs have lower level gear than a tile. But you still need to take tiles in the background, because you still need the resources. So where I went wrong was that I was walking 15 minutes for mobs, and it really slowed me down for the first hour or so. So I had to reassess what I was doing, go and take some tiles, get the mobs close to me, and then I kind of caught up. So they're kind of my main tips for how you progress your levels. If you're on the free-to-play side, or the slightly more free-to-play side, I would wait until I had 4 commanders in my army, unless I'm really blocked by chapters, before I decided it was a good idea to try and take on a level 8 tile or a level 9 tile. Obviously, if you're a little bit more on the Krakeny Whaley side, level 8 tiles are not too bad with 3 commanders, so you've got to understand how it works with your gear and the way it works with you. That's my first tip on that. Settlement style, if you do get to choose, I would always choose this one. And the reason why I would always choose it, which is the Morgul Orc style, is because of Sauron's Gift. And you get 20% extra ability points, which really add up in those first 3 or 4 days. And you need those for sweeping, particularly now that you can sweep other players' tiles. I think that's a great addition to the game, by the way, for lower spenders, that you can now use your bigger players' tiles earlier, so you can just basically go and gather off them. That's the word I'm looking for. I was going to call them resource them. That's not the right word at all. You can go and gather off them as soon as you can. We were really lucky. We had level 11 tiles to sort of gather off inside 3 hours of the server. It's pretty crazy, really. The other thing is, never let your stamina completely fill itself back up on your main commanders. Otherwise, it is just a waste. Even if you just hit a small, low-level mob, just get it done. As for barracks, whatever you want to start with is whatever you want to start with. Seasons like this, you can choose a little bit more. So at the moment, I did actually have elves here, but I swapped today. So I've now got the ability to make berserkers, and of course alchemists. Everyone loves alchemists. And my elf barracks is now level 1, but I am only really using the hunter, so I'm okay with that. And I've got dwarves to level 5. I will probably progress that to 7, because I'd quite like some guardians before PvP kicks in, and I'm hoping we're going to get some PvP. I haven't got an eagle camp yet. It's quite far away from where I am. It's probably the next thing that I will be doing. Obviously, I am tile capped. I do have pretty decent range tiles. This is the best I've ever had, to be honest. So I've got ruins and I've got a fort. I've already got my woodman camp, which I'm excited to use in these this season. And then I've mainly got 6-11s and 40-10s so far, to be honest, but then 11-9s and mostly level 8s as well. And I've kind of felt like it's a good thing to leave myself for level 8s because it's meant my production's kind of leveled out a little bit. I probably haven't got enough wood for what I would like. But then the same way, I can boost that up by just doing this and then gathering on that level 11 tile, like I was saying. So works out quite well. Undying is still sweeping. My B team headed off to hopefully go and hit the world mob boss whenever that might be. I've just realised as well I still haven't showed the map. I need to do that. So let's just do that. Obviously we've now taken this keep here. I think one more keep got taken, but I can't remember where it was. Normally the show is red, I think. Maybe I'm just missing it, or maybe... Yeah, there we go. I knew I'd seen. Oh, there's 2. So we've got Gods have taken Ethel Dwarf. Not sure when that was, actually, but I've missed that. Sorry, Gods. And then Home took Horondor as well. So they're kind of in this region here. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I always feel this map looks absolutely huge at this stage. I know they add a little bit to it, but... pretty crazy how that then all gets filled in as the season goes on. But like I say, it's day 3. Lots still to happen. Hopefully you can see here that we're healing as that goes along. Really nice that heal is, I've got to be honest. And then you end up doing stuff like this. Very, very happy with those kind of results, and it's sustainable, so you can keep sweeping all day if you want to. That's kind of everything I wanted to cover today. I am planning on trying to be a little bit more active in making these videos because I understand that I can be a bit of a nightmare and I'll do one and then it'll be 3 weeks till the next one. Going to try and get back into a routine like I did the other day. I still need to do the podcast starting with Gil. I think that's a great place to start. I need to get around to that. But in the meantime, as always follow your nose.